is patient, love is kind, or sometimes it just was really forced and resulted in divorces and second marriages and third marriages and fourth marriages and a lesbian and a daughter who just can't help but use it for her comedy material. So I never knew my parents together. I never wanted to try to get them back together because I was 3 when they got divorced. Oddly enough, the original Parent Trap is one of my all-time favorite movies, but I think that's just because I wanted to look like Haley Mills. But thinking about them ever getting back together, it never occurred to me because, one, they just seemed like such different people, and two, because my mom's a lesbian. So I was through my parents' divorce, and for any of you that don't know what that's like, it's very weird, but it's very intriguing to think about a time where two people that created you were actually together and happy. I put question marks in parentheses because I have no idea. It's like reading a fairy tale, but one that takes place in the 70s and involves a lot of bad clothing. So I'll give you a quick Netflix-like recap of what happened. My mom and dad met at TCU after being set up on a blind date. My dad had never really dated. He didn't even go to his prom. My mom was shy. She was very depressed at the time, but she decided to meet him anyways. And they were married for 3-ish years. During a year of that, my mom was in a mental hospital for schizophrenia and depression, during which my dad had to take care of me, which he reminds me of a lot. He says things like, "I had to change your diaper," and I'm like, yes, that's part of having a baby. And he's like, well, I did it. So, yay, here's your trophy. So my mom's parents lived nearby in basically a mansion, let's be honest. So he had help. My mom eventually, she left my dad and took me. We lived in a bunch of different places. My grandparents, lived with my cousins, by myself. I don't know why. There's a lot of things I don't know about my childhood that people haven't told me that I could fit inside of a large stadium. Some of it's interesting, some of it's weird, like the time that I realized that when my grandmother and I stayed up late to watch Johnny Carson and I had my chocolate milk and she had her water, it was not water. She was apparently an alcoholic, so that was interesting. I went to live with my dad after that from 8 to 18. He remarried a year after my mom and him got divorced. He left, he married a woman who did things like grounded me for chewing gum while I had braces, or saying horrible things about my mother, or coming up behind me at dinner and physically grabbing my arms and showing me the correct way to cut chicken. So after 12 years of marriage, they divorced, and besides my relationship with my boyfriend, and the first time I ever had a cheeseburger at Au Cheval, that was probably one of the happiest moments of my life. I ran back to my room and I called my best friend and my mom, and I was like, it's happening! Then my dad had marriage number 3 in California. That lasted 2-ish years. I lose track of how much time for each marriage. There was a crazy girlfriend somewhere in there, and then marriage number 4. I'll actually never forget that day because it was on my 30th birthday. So according to my dad, he said, well, we can't do it the weekend before because it's Easter, and you can't do that in the Catholic Church. We can't do it the next weekend because we're really busy. So I didn't bother mentioning that there are 49 other weekends in a year. And that was something that I couldn't laugh at, to be honest, for a really long time. I was extremely angry until they got divorced 2 years later. So clearly I did not have great role models when it came to love, relationships, and marriage. Now, I'm not only a child of divorce, but they run rampant in my family, like everybody had to meet a quota or something. So I could sit here and list all the divorces, so I will. So my dad has 4 divorces. His sister Linda has been married and divorced 3 times, most of them before I was born. My Aunt Nancy had a husband who ended up leaving her for what I think was his secretary, back when they called them secretaries, and then started another family with her. She remarried. My Uncle Scott got divorced for whatever reason. Part of me thinks it's because he's a horrible human being, but that's my opinion. He remarried and had 2 kids. My cousin Shannon, married in her early 20s, divorced, remarried her ex-husband, divorced him again, remarried another guy. My mom's sister Donna, married really young, had 2 kids, and then her husband took all her money and gambled it away. She later remarried and divorced again, which I'm fairly sure was because of alcoholism. My cousin Laura married, got divorced about 10 years later. My Aunt Debbie is still married to my Uncle Rob. I hope, fingers crossed. So in case you haven't been counting, that's 13 divorces in both sides of my family. And I used to list all of this to like new friends and first dates, which explains why there weren't second dates. And I did it for sympathy. I think, I wasn't sure, I don't know why I did it. Sometimes I just like felt like I had to get it out, or this is who I am. And which is not true. The description of me before the show, my introduction, that describes me perfectly. And I thought people could get to know me better because of that, which is not true. Now, this did really affect my relationships. No, it's true. It made me incredibly cautious with relationships. So much so that I didn't have any. I had insane crushes from the age of 5 till 29. I went on one date in high school. Thank you. That wasn't prom or winter formal. I even made up a boyfriend to my best friend. 25 years later, she still thinks he's real. Don't worry, he's a real person and I said he's my boyfriend. I don't know if that's less creepy or what. I chased guys I had no chance with, and I pushed away guys who liked me. I became an expert at being a third wheel. I'm really good at that. The pressure of finding a boyfriend, it came at me from all directions. Friends, family, parents, and I'm sure a lot of you relate to this, where that pressure, it comes in the form of like these really weird questions and comments, or almost like insults. Like, you're so adorable and nice when you have a boyfriend. Like, you're adorable and nice, but you're just not adorable enough. You're so close. Like, there's something wrong with being alone. And a lot of my girlfriends, they were frustrated with me because I didn't like a guy back who liked me, because I didn't settle or something. So in college, my best friend and her boyfriend, they set me up with his friend, and I dated him for a few months because we got a double date, and mostly I did it out of obligation. The four of us did things like go to Chili's and go see movies and go to Bennigan's and go see movies. And I got really bored and I ended it because I didn't like him. And my friend never forgave me for that. So many people seem very concerned about me being single, and I never understood worrying so much about somebody else's relationship status. I stayed in my safe zone where I could have crushes from far away and not worry about it becoming real. And then my junior year of college, I met Barrett, an adorable nerd who also played guitar. He met my qualifications, he liked me back, and his favorite band was U2, which apparently those were the only qualifications I needed to fall in love with somebody. We dated for 4 blissful weeks until he broke up with me while we were making out. It sounds ridiculous, but I really was totally devastated by this. Side note, he now is married with 3 kids, I think, and he likes a lot of my pictures like late at night, which is hilarious. I win. To me. It didn't help that we lived in the same apartment complex. I mean, I never drove past his place to see if he was home or swam in the pool outside of his apartment, you know, waiting for him to come out. That never happened. So I tried to get over it by asking out like every guy I knew, and that did not help. I started hooking up with guys to get attention, and I hate myself for doing that, but live and learn. I also lost my virginity at 23, thank you, to my best friend, effectively ending our friendship. And when I came to Chicago in 2004, I repeated some of those bad habits. I mean, it's hard not to. The comedy community is very incestuous. I had 2 relationships between 2004 and 2015, and they each lasted 3 months. They both broke things off the day after I said I like them. Let me repeat that. I said, I like you, and they ran away. So toward the end of 2014, I just stopped trying. I got rid of OkCupid, although I did add it back and quit and add it back a couple times just for material for my solo show, because it's, oh my god, those guys are hilarious. I got some confidence in myself, which only took about 30 years. I didn't listen to my girlfriend's advice. I changed my diet, lost a little bit of weight. I enjoyed Chicago as much as I could. I was 35, 36, and somehow after all the divorces, the mistakes, I really did have hope that I would meet someone. It never soured me on relationships, but at the same time, I was very okay with maybe I'm just supposed to be single. And that's literally when I met my boyfriend. And I know that's, everybody's like, oh, when I stopped looking, I found him. But it's so true, that's what happened. And I think that has something to do with, it sounds so weird, but the minute that I changed and got confidence in myself, it was literally like there was a radar and people could sense it, which it's very true. I totally believe in that. So it was very easy. We already knew each other through comedy. We literally ran into each other on the street. He was going to do a show and I was going to do a show. He asked me out via Facebook that night, and he did something a guy had not done for me in almost 6 years. He set a date and a location for a date. Guys, I think I speak for most women when I say, just find a place and just say, let's meet here at this time. Seriously, that's all that matters. Because sometimes, maybe I'll text you later, or what's up tonight, or are you up, or where's trouble at 3 a.m. just isn't romantic. All texts that I received. So it's been 3.5 years, and it's just so much fun, and we're still very in love, right? This to rub it in or be like, tell you how to handle your love lives. I say it because whatever happened to me as a kid, the broken homes, the anger, the divorces, all that, it really didn't change my outlook. It didn't matter to me if I met someone or not. It really just happened. And I learned from the mistakes that I made. And the biggest thing I learned was that I am so glad that I didn't end up with the other guys that I liked or dated, because I see them now married with kids, and that's great for them. They seem really happy. But it's a great feeling just seeing that and being like, that's not what I want, and that's not what I ever wanted. And I'll leave you with this story. A couple years ago, one of my coworkers, she said to me, she was like, how did you meet your boyfriend? And I told her, and she was like, that is so cute. And she said, so there's hope for me? And I was like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 25. And I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. And I said, yes, you have all the time in the world. Thank you.